Human rescues the alien girl from a broken stasis pod, and the alien girl says his touch rewrote her fate. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our main character. Ethan had always been an explorer at heart. His passion for adventure led him to some of the most remote corners of Earth. But this time, his journey took him to a desolate wasteland, an abandoned stretch of land where the remnants of past civilizations lay in ruins. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the cracked earth as Ethan made his way through the eerie silence. His eyes were scanning the horizon, searching for something, anything that might hold the key to a new discovery. As he walked, he stumbled upon something unusual. It was a large, metallic object partially buried in the sand, its shape unmistakable, a stasis pod. Ethan's heart raced. He had read about these pods in ancient texts, relics from another time, designed to preserve life in stasis for long periods. But to find one, still intact, here in the middle of nowhere, was unheard of. He approached it cautiously, his breath catching in his throat. The pod was battered, clearly having endured some sort of crash, but it still seemed to hold a faint pulse of life. As he knelt beside it, a faint whirring noise filled the air. His hand hovered over the control panel, a series of strange symbols glowing dimly in the fading light. Without fully understanding what he was doing, Ethan pressed a button. The pod's glass door hissed open, revealing a figure inside. A girl. But she was no ordinary girl. Her skin shimmered with a silvery blue hue, her features delicate and otherworldly. She looked as though she had been frozen in time, her body suspended in the pod as if caught in a moment of slumber. Ethan's mind raced. Who was she? What was she doing here? And why had she been left? In this pod? His hands trembled as he gently touched the girl's arm, trying to check for signs of life. The moment his fingers made contact with her skin, something incredible happened. A surge of energy shot through him, as though their very touch had unlocked something deep within the pod. He felt a strange warmth spread through his body, and in an instant, a flood of images and sensations flooded his mind. He saw flashes of distant worlds, of stars burning bright, of alien landscapes filled with colors he couldn't even begin to describe. And then, as quickly as it came, it stopped. Ethan pulled his hand away, his breath coming in short gasps. The girl's eyes fluttered open. Her gaze met his, and for a moment, there was silence. She blinked, as if trying to make sense of her surroundings. Slowly, she spoke, her voice soft but clear. Your touch, it rewrote my fate. Ethan stared at her in disbelief. What had just happened? And who was she? He didn't know the answers, but one thing was clear. This encounter was no accident. His life, and hers, had just been forever changed. I stood there frozen, staring at the girl in front of me. Her eyes, a shade of violet that seemed to shimmer, locked onto mine as if she was trying to understand who I was, just as much as I was trying to comprehend what had just happened. The strange sensation of energy still lingered in my fingertips. I could feel it, a buzzing, almost electric pulse running through me. The moment we touched, something changed. But what? The girl, still lying in the pod, slowly moved her hand to her forehead, as though she was trying to process her own thoughts. Her lips parted, and her voice, soft yet filled with a weight I could not explain, spoke again. I don't know who I am anymore. Her voice trailed off, confusion clouding her expression. I didn't know what to say. How could I? This was no ordinary encounter. I had no idea who she was, where she had come from, or what she was capable of. But something about her felt familiar, like I had been drawn to this moment for a reason. Do you remember anything? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. Anything at all? She looked down at her hands, as if searching for an answer. I remember a place, a distant world, a sky full of stars, and then nothing. Her eyes met mine again, and in them, I saw a flicker of something deeper, a hidden story. You did this. Your touch. She blinked, as though the realization hit her like a wave. It changed everything. I shook my head. I don't understand. I didn't do anything. I just touched you. But she shook her head slowly, her face serious. It wasn't just any touch. It's as if our destinies are now intertwined. Her words echoed in my mind, and suddenly, I felt a cold chill run down my spine. What did that mean? Intertwined destinies? Was this some kind of cosmic fate? Or was it something else, something that I wasn't ready to comprehend? I don't know what's going on, I muttered to myself, trying to wrap my mind around the situation. But I'll help you. I don't know how, but I will. The girl seemed to calm slightly, her expression softening just a little. Thank you, she said quietly. I don't know what you've just done, but I think you may have given me a chance. A chance? I frowned, trying to make sense of her words. A chance for what? She seemed to consider that for a moment before responding. A chance to change my fate. To be free. She looked around, as if sensing the vast emptiness of the land around us. The pod, it's broken. But that doesn't mean I'm free. She glanced down at the pod again, her gaze distant. I followed her eyes, noticing the deep cracks running along the metal surface. It looked like it had been damaged for a long time. I had no idea how it still had power, how it had held her inside for so long. But it was clear that whatever force had been keeping her alive was now fading. What happened to you? I asked, my curiosity overcoming the confusion. I don't remember, she whispered. But whatever it was, it's over now. And now, I have you. You are part of my story. Her voice was barely audible, but the weight of her words felt heavy, as if they were pulling me into something much bigger than either of us could imagine. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. This wasn't just an ordinary rescue. This was the beginning of something far beyond what I could have ever expected. I had no idea what was going to happen next, but I knew one thing for sure. My life was never going to be the same again. I could feel the weight of her words hanging in the air. You are part of my story. I kept repeating that phrase in my mind, as if it held the key to understanding what was happening. Who was she? What was her connection to me? I had never believed in fate or destiny, but the way she said it, as if our paths had crossed for a reason, made me question everything. The silence between us grew as we both sat there, trying to comprehend the situation. The wind howled across the barren landscape, the sound of its distant whistle, the only thing breaking the stillness. The pod that had once been a lifeline to her now lay in ruin, like the last vestige of a forgotten world. The girl, Zara, seemed to be deep in thought, her eyes flickering between the broken pod and the vast, empty horizon. Where will you go now? I asked, unable to shake off the feeling that she had just been given a second chance at life. Her eyes met mine again, and for a brief moment, I saw something flicker in them. It was as if she was deciding how much to share, how much to trust me with. I don't know, she replied quietly, her voice laced with uncertainty. I never imagined I would wake up like this, alone, in a world I don't know. I could see the confusion and fear in her expression, a stark contrast to the calm and mysterious aura she had when she first woke up. You're not alone, I said, perhaps more to reassure myself than her. I'm here. I'll help you figure this out. Zara's gaze softened for a moment. Thank you, she whispered. But as I looked into her eyes, I couldn't help but wonder if I was really the one who could help her, or if I was being swept up in something far greater than I had ever anticipated. There must be something you remember, I said, trying to pry more information from her. A place, a name, anything. Zara shook her head slowly. It's all fragmented. I see flashes. A starry sky, strange worlds, beings I can't describe. And I hear voices, but they're so distant, like whispers on the wind. I can't make sense of any of it. I could see the frustration building in her as she spoke, as if she was fighting to hold onto memories that kept slipping through her fingers. I didn't know what to say. It was clear that whatever had happened to her, it had left her with a deep sense of loss and confusion. We'll figure it out together, I said, my voice firm but gentle. I'm not going anywhere. Zara nodded, but I could see that she wasn't convinced. She stood up slowly, her movements graceful, yet purposeful. I have to find out more about where I came from, she said, her voice now carrying a sense of resolve. I need answers. I watched her with a mix of admiration and worry. Zara was determined, but I could see the danger in it. Whatever had happened to her, it wasn't something I understood. And the more I tried to help, the more I felt like I was diving deeper into something I wasn't ready for. We'll do it together, I repeated, feeling a surge of determination that matched hers. And so, with the broken pod behind us and the vast unknown stretching ahead, we set off into the future, uncertain of what we would find, but ready to face it together. I walked beside Zara, both of us moving across the barren landscape, the sound of our footsteps the only thing breaking the silence. The wind had picked up, carrying with it the scent of dust and something unfamiliar, an odd mix of earth and metal, the smell of something long forgotten. As we walked, I couldn't help but steal glances at her. Her appearance still unsettled me. There was something almost ethereal about her, something otherworldly that made it hard to focus on anything else. The shimmer of her skin in the faint sunlight was like nothing I had ever seen before. It wasn't just her appearance that was strange, it was her presence. I felt as if I had stumbled upon something monumental, something bigger than both of us. We had walked for what seemed like hours, the landscape stretching endlessly in every direction. Zara remained quiet, lost in thought. I wasn't sure if it was the memory she had lost, or something more profound weighing on her mind, but her silence felt like a heavy cloud hanging over us. Zara, I finally said, breaking the stillness. You're quiet. What's going on in your head? She didn't answer immediately, but her eyes flickered toward me, a flash of vulnerability passing through her. I'm just thinking, she said, her voice distant. About where I came from. About why I was in that pod. Why I was left there. I nodded, feeling a pang of sympathy. It's a lot to process, I get that. But we're in this together, right? She glanced at me again, her gaze lingering. For the first time, there was something softer in her eyes, a hint of trust. Yes, she whispered. I don't know why you're helping me, but I feel like I can't do this alone. Her words hit me harder than I expected. I hadn't realized how much I wanted to help her until that moment. You don't have to do this alone, I said, trying to reassure her. I don't have all the answers, but we'll figure it out. Zara didn't respond immediately, but her expression softened, as if she was weighing my words. The silence between us was different now, less heavy, more like an understanding passing between us. I had no idea where we were going, or what we would find. But one thing was clear, we were in this together. As we moved forward, the landscape began to change. The flat, dusty terrain gave way to jagged rocks and hills, rising up from the ground like ancient giants. It looked like the remnants of a once thriving world, now abandoned, lost to time. Zara's pace quickened, as though something had caught her attention. I followed her lead, feeling a strange pull in the air, like we were being drawn towards something. Do you feel that? I asked, my voice low. Zara nodded without a word, her eyes scanning the horizon. It's like there's something out there, she murmured, her tone almost reverent. I didn't understand what she meant, but I couldn't deny that there was something unsettling in the air. As we climbed higher, I could see a faint light on the horizon, barely visible through the haze. It was different from the sunlight, flickering like a distant star. Zara's steps grew more purposeful, more determined, as if she had found something she had been searching for. My curiosity was piqued, but I had no idea what we were heading toward. What do you think it is? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Zara looked at me, her expression unreadable. I don't know, she said softly, but I think it's the answer I've been looking for. We kept moving forward, the flickering light growing brighter as we neared it. The tension in the air thickened, and I could feel my heart racing with anticipation. Whatever it was waiting for us. And I couldn't shake the feeling that it was the beginning of something much bigger than either of us could have ever imagined. I could feel the anticipation building as we approached the flickering light in the distance. The air around us had grown thick, charged with an energy I couldn't quite explain. Zara was leading the way now, her pace quickening as if something was pulling her forward. Her eyes were focused, her movements precise. She was no longer the lost and confused girl I had first encountered. There was a strength in her now, a determination I hadn't seen before. The light, which had once been a small flicker on the horizon, was now unmistakable, a soft, glowing orb, suspended in midair like a beacon in the vast emptiness. It didn't seem natural. Nothing in this desolate place should have been glowing like that. We continued walking toward it, the light growing brighter with every step, until we reached what looked like a large, circular structure, almost like a dome, half buried in the earth. The surface of the dome was smooth, reflective, and had an eerie, otherworldly glow to it, as though it had been untouched by time. Zara stopped just a few feet from it, her breath steady but her eyes wide with wonder. She reached out a hand, her fingers barely brushing the surface of the dome, and I saw her eyes flash with something. Recognition, maybe, or something deeper. "This is it," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "This is where I came from." I stood there, unsure of what to say. How could this dome be the key to her past? What was this place, and why had she been drawn to it? Before I could ask, Zara turned to me, her face serious. "You don't understand yet, do you?" she said, her voice steady but with an edge of something else, something almost like urgency. "This isn't just a place. It's a doorway. A portal." My heart skipped a beat. "A portal," I repeated. Zara nodded, her eyes scanning the glowing surface of the dome. "Yes, a way to go home. To where I belong." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. For a moment, I felt the weight of her situation. She wasn't just a lost stranger. She was someone with a purpose, someone who had a place to return to. But I still didn't understand what this place was, or why it was so important to her. "How do you know?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Zara didn't answer immediately. Instead, she stood there, her hand still touching the dome, her face full of concentration. Then, slowly, the surface of the dome seemed to ripple, like water disturbed by a pebble. The glow intensified, and for a brief moment, I thought I saw something moving beneath the surface, shapes, forms, like shadows shifting in the depths. "It's calling to me," Zara said, her voice barely audible. "I can feel it. This is where I belong." I didn't know what to make of her words, but I could see it in her eyes, the certainty, the clarity. This was no coincidence. This was the moment she had been searching for. I took a step closer to her, my hand hovering at my side, unsure if I should touch her or the strange, glowing dome. The air around us seemed to hum, and the ground beneath our feet felt like it was alive with energy. Zara closed her eyes for a moment, and I could see a flicker of something in her expression, something that wasn't entirely human. It was as if the very essence of who she was aligning with whatever lay ahead. I took a deep breath. "Are you ready?" I asked. Zara opened her eyes, meeting my gaze with an intensity that took me by surprise. "I have to be," she said, her voice firm. "This is my fate." And with that, she stepped forward, pushing her palm against the glowing dome. The surface rippled once more, and then, just as suddenly, the dome split open like a door being unlocked. The light from within poured out in waves, and for the first time, I saw the world on the other side. It was unlike anything I had ever imagined, vast, shimmering, alive with colors and shapes I couldn't even begin to describe. It was a place that belonged to Zara, a place that I was about to step into, whether I was ready or not. I stood there, staring at the glowing portal that had opened before us, my heart pounding in my chest. Zara was already stepping forward, her face set with determination as she walked towards the shimmering light. The air around us crackled with energy, as if the very fabric of reality was bending. I couldn't move. I wasn't sure if it was fear or something else that held me in place, but the sight of the glowing world beyond the portal was overwhelming. It was as if I was seeing the unknown for the first time, a world that existed outside of everything I had ever known. I watched as Zara turned back to me, her eyes filled with an intensity that sent a chill down my spine. "Are you coming?" she asked, her voice steady but with a hint of urgency. "I don't know what's on the other side, but I have to go." Her words struck me harder than I expected. This wasn't just a journey for her, it was a need. A part of her had been missing, and this was the only way to find it. The portal, now fully open, beckoned us with a pull that I couldn't explain. "I'm not sure if I'm ready for this," I admitted, my voice barely a whisper. "I don't know what's waiting for us there." Zara took a step closer, her presence calming, but her gaze unwavering. "Neither do I," she said softly. "But we don't have a choice. This is the only way forward." I looked at the glowing expanse before me, feeling the weight of her words. The unknown stretched out in front of us, vast and full of possibilities. It was a risk, but it was the only one that made sense. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for whatever came next. Slowly, I stepped toward the portal, my hand brushing against Zara's as I moved past her. For a moment, the contact felt like a lifeline, a reminder that we weren't alone in this. Together, we would face whatever lay ahead. The world around. Us seemed to distort as we passed through the threshold, and suddenly, everything changed. The air was different, crisper, fresher, with an almost intoxicating quality to it. The ground beneath our feet shifted, no longer the dry, cracked earth we had left behind, but soft and alive with an otherworldly energy. The sky was unlike anything I had ever seen. It was a swirling mass of colors, blues, purples, and golds, dancing like the northern lights, but more vibrant, more alive. It was as if the very sky itself was in motion, a living thing. Zara stepped forward, her eyes wide with awe as she took in the beauty of this strange new world. "This is it," she whispered, her voice full of wonder. "This is home." I looked around, unable to process everything I was seeing. The landscape before us was surreal. Towering crystal structures that seemed to pulse with an inner light, vast fields of glowing plants that moved with the breeze, and distant mountains that appeared to be made of shifting sand and light. I had no idea where we were, but I knew one thing. This was a place unlike any other. "What is this place?" I asked, my voice shaking with disbelief. "Where are we?" Zara turned to me, her expression serious. "This is where I was meant to be. This is the world of my people." Her words hit me like a wave, the realization sinking in that I was standing in the middle of a completely alien world, a place I had no understanding of. "Your people?" I echoed, trying to wrap my mind around it. Zara nodded, her face filled with a mixture of hope and fear. "I have to find them," she said, her voice steady but filled with a deep longing. "This is where I belong, and I have to know what happened to my people." I stood there, looking at her, realizing that this journey, this moment, was more than just a step into the unknown. It was her journey, her quest, and somehow, I had become a part of it. Together, we were going to find the answers to questions neither of us could have imagined. But first, we had to survive this strange, alien world. And I wasn't sure what that would take. I followed Zara through the alien landscape, each step feeling more surreal than the last. The ground beneath us was soft and spongy, almost like walking on a bed of moss, but it glowed with a faint iridescent light, casting an otherworldly glow on everything around us. The air was crisp and charged with a strange energy, as if the very atmosphere was alive with potential. It was nothing like Earth, nothing like anything I had ever experienced. As we moved further into the strange terrain, the towering crystal structures seemed to pulse with an internal light, casting long, sharp shadows that danced across the glowing plants. The whole world felt like it was breathing. Zara walked ahead of me, her movement steady, but there was an underlying tension in her step. I could tell she was searching for something that had brought her here, but she wasn't sure where to start. "Zara," I called out, my voice barely audible over the hum of the environment. "What exactly are we looking for?" She stopped and turned to face me, her expression intense, her eyes scanning the vast horizon. "I'm looking for my people," she said simply, but there was something in her tone, something deep, something full of loss. "I don't know where they are, or even if they're still alive. But this place, this is where I was born. This is where I belong." I could see the weight of her words in her eyes. It wasn't just curiosity or a need for answers that drove her. It was a sense of belonging, a pull to a world that was hers, a world she had been separated from. "Do you think they're still here?" I asked, trying to make sense of it all. Zara hesitated for a moment, her gaze distant. "I don't know, but I have to try. This is the only place where I might find them." Her voice cracked slightly, but she quickly regained her composure. I nodded, understanding more than I had before. This was more than a journey of discovery for her. It was about reconnecting with a part of herself that had been lost, a piece of her past that she couldn't leave behind. We continued walking, the soft light guiding our way as the landscape stretched out before us. The air was thick with the scent of strange flowers that seemed to bloom and fold back into themselves with every passing second. The sky above us swirled in shades of purple and blue, casting a dreamlike quality over everything. It was beautiful, yet haunting. The deeper we ventured, the more the environment changed. The ground became less soft and more solid. The air grew heavier, and the light seemed to dim, as though something was ahead, something that awaited us. "We're getting close," Zara said, her voice low, as if she was sensing something I couldn't yet comprehend. I looked at her, my curiosity piqued. "Close to what?" She paused and turned to face me. Close to finding them. I can feel it. Her eyes were wide with something I couldn't place. Hope, fear, determination. It was all there, tangled together in a look that spoke of everything she had lost and everything she hoped to regain. We continued on, the silence between us growing more profound. It wasn't uncomfortable, just a mutual understanding that neither of us had the answers. Zara's footsteps quickened, as if the unknown was drawing closer, the answers just beyond her reach. And I followed her, knowing that whatever we were about to face would change everything. But I didn't know yet how much it would change me, too. I followed Zara as she led the way, her movements more urgent now. The atmosphere around us was thick with anticipation, and the air seemed to hum with energy. It wasn't just the world itself that felt alive, it was her. She was different now, more than the confused girl I had first met. There was something inside her, something driving her forward. I could sense it with every step she took. The land around us was shifting. What had once been soft and spongy was now solid and unyielding, like the earth itself was hardening as we moved deeper into this strange world. The air felt colder too, as if we were entering an unknown place, a threshold we couldn't see but could only feel. Zara stopped suddenly, her eyes fixed on something in the distance. I followed her gaze, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. In the distance, barely visible through the haze, there was a faint light. It wasn't like the glowing dome we had first encountered. It was steady, more like a beacon. That's it, Zara whispered, her voice barely audible. That's where they are. I could hear the tremble in her voice, the emotion just beneath the surface. She wasn't just searching for her people anymore. This wasn't just curiosity. This was something personal, something that had been driving her for far too long. Are you sure? I asked, my voice uncertain, but there was no turning back now. Zara nodded, her eyes never leaving the light. I have to be. I feel it in my bones. They're there. They have to be. We began moving toward the light, the ground beneath us becoming more uneven, the terrain rough and rocky. The air grew colder, and the landscape seemed to stretch out forever. But Zara moved without hesitation, her pace quickening as she grew closer to the source of the light. Zara, wait. I called out, but she didn't stop. She was driven, her focus unshakable. I had never seen her like this before. There was a strength in her now, a power that was undeniable. I kept close, not because I was afraid, but because I felt like I needed to be with her. As we neared the source of the light, the world around us started to change again. The ground beneath us became smoother, as if the earth itself had been prepared for our arrival. The light ahead grew brighter, more intense, and I could feel the energy in the air crackling, almost like static electricity. Then, finally, we reached it. Standing before us was an enormous structure, so tall that it seemed to pierce the sky. It wasn't like anything I had ever seen before. It was smooth, almost liquid in its appearance, shimmering with a silvery blue glow that matched Zara's own aura. This wasn't just a building. It was a living thing, pulsating with energy. Zara stepped forward, her hand reaching out toward the structure, her face a mask of awe and disbelief. It's them, she whispered. This is where they are. I couldn't understand what she was seeing, but I could feel the depth of her emotions, the weight of everything she had lost, and everything she hoped to find. This was it, the moment she had been searching for. The answers were here, and there was no going back. Zara's fingers brushed the surface of the structure, and the energy in the air intensified, swirling around us like a storm. I stood there, watching, knowing that this was only the beginning of something much bigger than either of us could comprehend. I watched as Zara's hand slowly moved toward the surface of the structure, her fingers hovering just above it. The air around us was thick with energy, the hum almost deafening in its intensity. It felt like the world was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Then, without warning, the structure seemed to respond. A soft pulse of light emanated from the surface, rippling outwards like the waves of water disturbed by a pebble. Zara gasped, her eyes wide with recognition. It's reacting to me, she whispered, more to herself than to me. I stood there, unable to speak, feeling the gravity of the moment settle over me. Whatever this place was, whatever this structure represented, it was connected to Zara. I could see it in the way her body responded, the way her hands seemed to glow faintly in response to the energy from the building. This was her moment, the culmination of everything she had been searching for. The structure shifted, the surface rippling like liquid, and then it parted, revealing a glowing doorway that led into the depths of the massive structure. The light from within was warm, inviting, as if it were welcoming us inside. Zara took a step forward, her body tense with anticipation. I hesitated for a moment, unsure of what we were about to walk into. Zara, wait, I said, reaching out to gently touch her arm. She turned to me, her eyes filled with determination. I have to go? I have to see what's inside. I nodded, unable to argue. There was no turning back now. We had come this far, and whatever awaited us inside, we would face it together. I followed her into the glowing doorway, and as we stepped inside, the air changed. It was cooler here, the atmosphere filled with a strange, yet comforting stillness. The light seemed to come from nowhere, casting everything in an ethereal glow. The walls, if they could even be called walls, were translucent, like they were made of some kind of living material, constantly shifting and changing. It was beautiful, but also alien, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't alone. We moved deeper into the structure, and the further we went, the more the energy in the air seemed to build, becoming almost tangible. Zara stopped abruptly, her gaze fixed on something ahead. I followed her eyes, and my heart skipped a beat. There at the center of the vast chamber was a figure. It was humanoid, but not quite like anything I had ever seen before. Its form shimmered with light, its body made of the same glowing substance that seemed to flow through the entire structure. It was watching us, its eyes bright with an intelligence that was both comforting and unsettling at the same time. Zara stepped forward, her voice trembling as she spoke. I knew you would be here. The figure did not move, but I could feel its presence, its attention focused entirely on us. I didn't know what to expect, but the air around us seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for the next move. Zara took another step forward, and the figure finally spoke, its voice like a soft melody that filled the entire room. Welcome home. The words echoed in my mind, and for the first time since arriving in this strange world, I felt a sense of purpose, a feeling that everything had led to this moment. Zara's journey, her search for her people, for her past, had brought us here. And now, we were standing in front of something greater than we could have ever imagined. The unknown was no longer something to fear. It was a door to something much bigger, something that would change everything for both of us.